ton of sense. Now, you will go out and try, and you'll run into problems no one ever could have, you never could have seen coming, like this problem. The problem that you could be so good, your technology could be so effective that you would fail. This is a solar thermal hot water system in Aspen, but a similar system was proposed in California at a resort that I know and work with. And the hotel engineer pitched it to the CFO and said, here's, you know, hotels have huge domestic hot water needs. So he said, this system, because California has such good rebates and cost of power is high and so forth, it's got a 65% return on investment. Will you sign this thing and do it? Well, the CFO said, of course, no, because that's the stories I'm telling. But why did the CFO say no? And this is a true story. The CFO said, this can't be real. It's too good to be true. And therefore, I'm not funding it, and I never will. No one ever told you you could be so good that you would fail. No one ever told you you could be so bad that you would succeed. This is Base Village at Snowmass. The construction was steel stud walls, 2x6s, with gypboard on one side and wood on the other, plywood on the other. This is a terrible wall design. And it's terrible because if you've ever put your tongue on a pole in the park in the winter, you know that metal conducts and it's cold. Well, that's what those studs are going to do on an exterior wall. They're going to be cold, so you're going to get condensation, and you're going to have rust, and the rust is going to hurt the rust out fasteners on the outside, so they'll eventually fail, and you'll have mold as well. And I brought the leading building forensics guy in, and I said, you guys can't do this for all these reasons, but also, by the way, it's illegal to build this way. You have to, by code, put an inch of rigid foam on the outside of the building. And they said, Auden, we've built this wall all over snow country. It works great. We've done it in Whistler and Colorado and Trumbull, and I couldn't believe it. So I started looking into it. It turns out they did. And the reason is the wall's so crappy and so inefficient that you're basically blowing hot air through the wall like a blow dryer all day and drying it out. So it's so badly designed that it works. Now this is a world, you're in a world with these crazy things going on, with Ed Abbey cutting a hole in the bottom of his car and being so good you fail and being so bad you succeed, it's almost impossible to make these things happen. But over time, it happened. And we had a really interesting meeting. This is the rogue incandescent bulb in our company. We had an interesting meeting with our senior management team where the CFO one day said, hey, why do we have any incandescent bulbs left in the company? Because when you retrofit them, the lowest return we've ever gotten was 30%, and the highest return was 200%. How can we afford, as sensible business people, not to do this? And the CEO said, you're right, we got to ban them. So we banned incandescent bulbs. And then we said we're going to ban T12s, which are the old, fat, linear fluorescent bulbs, and we're going to retrofit all those. So we banned those two kinds of bulbs in the company because to not do it would be to be a bad business person. We had to do it. And this is without rebates. DMEA, you guys have rebates for this, right? It doesn't matter. If they're rebates, it's just gravy. So this is a kind of interesting change that happened at our company that makes a ton of sense. Another reason to do this stuff is beyond cash, it's employee morale. Here's an engineer at the Little Nell where we had 4 of these giant boilers, natural gas boilers that heat the building. They were like 30 years old and running sub 60% efficiency. Same story happened. We went to ownership. I went to ownership and I said, hey, if you give me $600,000, I can replace these boilers, or I can hire someone to replace them, with 95% efficient condensing boilers. If you do this, you will save $100,000 in natural gas every year, so a 6-year payback, 17% return on investment. Would you do it? Yes, of course you'd do it. Because if you decided it wasn't worth your time to do it, a bank would come in and do it. Because 17% guaranteed is hard to get. So we did this. Now, you're going to your hotel manager and saying, how else can I help you? Or what are your ideas? So these guys who usually hate the enviro guy are actually our best friends, because we're always asking them, what can you do, what can you do, what can you do? Now, if there's a rebate, your utility often has rebates on this, the return gets even better, but you don't need it, even with natural gas prices as low as they are today. We've kind of gotten involved in renewable energy development, as has DMEA, and we did it because we wanted to make a statement, because there was an opportunity, because we wanted to generate some clean power. And this CRMS solar array is 150 kW. It's on a high school's land, so they integrate it into their teaching curriculum. And we did it. Well, the project has a 6.5% return on investment, guaranteed. So that's fine, that's after taxes. So that's a good deal, great. But when we had the grand opening, something crazy happened. Certain people started showing up. The governor showed up, because it was such a cool project. And that is our owner, Jim Crown. And he came with his wife to a solar grand opening. Who would have thought that would be a good thing to do on a date? And then, at the time, Senator Ken Salazar showed up. Well, Salazar later became Secretary of the Interior, which owns the land that ski resorts operate on. So it was a great political move. 300 people showed up. And, you know, there's money, there's morale, but there's also PR. And you care about how people think about you in the community, and you want to be good community citizens, and this is incredible. So there are these very, very valid reasons for taking the time and energy to sit down and try to figure out how you can do efficiency in renewables.